of the time the wrong mindset is just doubt, right? It's disbelief in what you think you can achieve. And that comes from growing up, and it's conditioning. It's what you intake in your mind ever since you were a younger kid and how you were brought up. There's a lot of people. If you're successful in real estate, raise your hand right now. Be proud about it. Raise your hand. Nobody's gonna ask you for money, right? And so what you're looking at is there's a bunch of people in here that have all pretty much came from nothing, that have got it out of the mud, basically. A lot of millionaires create their money out of mud, right? Out of nothing. And so what happens is you have to stop hanging around the same people that you hang around currently that have what you don't want. And you need to start hanging around the people that have what you want, right? And so this gentleman here, you just said you're here because Nas posted something that said it was a meetup. He just told you who he learned from. And this gentleman just invited everybody in his room to his office at 5:30 in the morning. So it goes where people are like, yo, how do I meet these people? Right? But at 5:30 in the morning, 90% of this room is sleeping. And so you can't achieve what the 1% do by doing what the 99% do. Right? At 5:30, you won't catch me in the bed. I don't care what time I went to sleep. And so I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to everybody. Right? People don't want to do the work. And because it's hard work. But when you do, like when I talk about my podcast the other day, I said grinding is a season. It's not a way of life. Do you consider yourself still grinding? No, your grind days are over, right? We cruising now. And so you got to put in that work in a period of time, whether it's 3 years, 5 years, you got to go hard. And those 5 years will set you up to you lay down, and then it'll continue to feed the following generations. And so remove the people from your life. And I know this is going to sound crazy and awkward. Remove your friends. Listen, if the friends that you hang out with don't have what you want, remove them. It's only temporary, right? Because they're eventually gonna come work for you. Remove them. Remove your family members. It's gonna be the most difficult thing you're ever gonna do. Remove your family members. I can't tell you the countless amount of Thanksgivings and all of those things that I've missed because I didn't want to be in that room. Not because I didn't love them. I didn't want to get infected with their mentality. Right? And so you got to go out and do the same exact thing. You got to get away from the people who don't have what you want. And you got to go hang around the people that have what you want. And you will slowly start to unlearn what you've learned your entire life and relearn a new way of living. There's no secret to success. It's just hard work. That's all it is. And it's for a shorter period amount of time. And you got to have the right mindset when you start to adapt those same principles that everybody else does. There's people that wake up, my man says he's at the office at 5:30, so that means he's already up. You know why? Because between 5:30 and 8:30, ain't nobody calling him. Y'all start calling me around 8:30, because y'all just woke up. 9 o'clock, y'all just woke up. Between those hours of 5 and 8, my day is done. Y'all go to work, I go chill. And so that's what you have to do, and it's little small stuff like that you have to do. You got to start changing the people you're around, because they're not good for you at this moment, right? And it's simple, but it's gonna be difficult to do. Separate from your family, separate from your friends that don't have it, and just move on. The guy that owns how many times have they changed rules with the city when you opened up your restaurants? All the time, right? So as entrepreneurs, we just adapt and overcome. Sean, I'm pretty sure back there with American First IRA, the government has changed rules so many times since y'all been in business on what you can and can't do. All the time. So I've had 12 failed businesses before I found real estate. There was always rules changing, but it doesn't matter. We always adapt and overcome. And so it's not here now. I wouldn't worry about it when it comes. If you're willing to stay in it, you're just gonna adapt to whatever it is and do it. If the worst thing I've seen is you gotta go to real estate license. $350 in about 3 weeks. You know, and so it's just like, great, so what? We're just gonna move on. We're gonna keep doing what we're doing. So her first question was, how do you find a deal? Or how do you learn how to identify a deal? And I think so first of all, in real estate, identifying a deal is the #1 skill, period. There is literally trillions of dollars in America, more trillions outside of the world. So money is not the thing that you need to be searching for. It's actually the deal. And so how do you get good at identifying the deal? This is the boring stuff that people don't want to do. You literally have to know your market like the back of your hand. And there's no real answer for me to give you in the sense of like, this is exactly how you do it. It's just it's studying it. Like there's not, even now, there's once a week where I'll just go on Zillow and type in a zip code to see how many active MLS listings are in that zip code. And depending on how many they have or how little they have, I'm gonna know if there's a high demand in this area or low demand. I'm looking at the average price in that zip code. Those are just the boring stuff that I know in the top of my head, so that if somebody brings me a deal and they say a number, I'll say done. I don't even need to go see the house. I don't need to go do none of that stuff. And so that's like the boring work you gotta do all the time. You gotta learn how to comp. And the reason why there's never a good answer on exactly how you comp, because it's like art. It's not a science. But there's good videos on how to learn the art, but you're always gonna have to touch up. You're always gonna have to learn how to comp. And so my man gave a good deal about a house that's worth $200,000 that you can get for 100, right? That's 50% off. But then it goes down to, what are the repairs on the house? It could be a total knockdown, so maybe the 50% deal ain't that great. So there's so many variables to know how to find a good deal, but that's the art. That is the true difference between a successful real estate investor and an unsuccessful investor. I sell shitty deals to investors that have no idea all the time. And it's not my decision to make. They tell me what they're gonna pay, I tell them where to go send the money. And it's because you have to learn how to get into a deal to where you're not over leveraged. That's the whole game in real estate. You gotta be under leveraged in your portfolio. You gotta learn how to find a deal. And so you gotta think, there's something that all of us have a passion in, right? Outside of real estate. It could be Lego sets. It could be restoring old cars. It could be anything, right? You know the value of whatever that thing is, right? Some of you guys do trading cards. I could bring you, a Michael Jordan rookie and you know off the top of your head, dude, that's that, right? Some of you guys may be in the Rolex watches or timepieces, and you know, oh, that one, that market value is that. And so you got to get good at it. You just got to be passionate about learning how to value something. If you pull up to a used car lot, there's somebody on that car lot that's going to say, yeah, that vehicle's worth this. And you got to get that good at it. There's no real good answer for me to give you other than you just have to practice it. It's like, hey, how do you get good at shooting free throws? You practice, you shoot. And so that's just the answer you gotta give. And as far as books, I'm not really I read enough books, but I don't read books for just general reasons. I read books because I have a problem in that area. Like if I'm having a struggle building a team, I'm gonna go find somebody that wrote the best book about how to build a good team. And I'm gonna read 3 or 4 of them. So I don't know if I have general books on how to. I think you probably got better books than I do.
First and foremost, thank you guys for all the people and just putting this on and things like that. But I have a question about short-term rental. So I'm into Airbnb. I'm very passionate about hospitality and the whole setup with that. But I'm a bit confused right now. I rent apartment units and of course put it on Airbnb, get permission or whatever. But I want to get into like real estate investing and owning my own property and things like that. But I'm basically using the apartment units to build capital to do so. But I just want to jump on it now while I can. Like I'm seeing the market is shifting and things like that. So what's some advice you can give me to like building a relationship or getting some capital from like the private investor? Because I don't know how to go about that.
It goes back to learning how to identify a deal, right? And so if you can learn that small part of real estate, which is a big part, small thing, but a big part of it, then you can partner with people. You can come to somebody like us and say, hey, will we buy this house and have you as a partner in it? And then you go ahead and turn it into short rental income. And that's how you can get into start having ownership percentages in properties. And just, do what he said. I mean, because you need a good deal to be able to convert it into an Airbnb, furnish it, all that stuff. And that still comes down to finding a good deal, right? It's hard to pick a house off the MLS and turn it into an Airbnb. You want to have some equity in that thing. And like I said, there's a lot of dead money out here of people who would more than happy, instead of if you can manage the Airbnb rental and they put their money in it, and versus getting $2,000 or $3,000 a month in rent, they're getting 7 or 8, and you're doing some type of split with that, somebody will give you percentages in those properties. Because I mean, that cash flow is crazy.
So,
I think you turn it on.
my partner that I work with out of Raleigh, he's doing about 10 to 15 deals a month. I personally brought 5, started back in March. So I'm starting to gain a little bit of capital. I also have a day job making pretty good money. What is your recommendation
Matt,
as far as where do you put the money once you start to gain the capital? Do you, and another thing is, how many deals do you do from a wholesale before you buy the next property? So if you gained enough capital, do you buy a property, or do you recommend put it in marketing?
You definitely want to leverage your W-2 if you got it at the time, but you need to have a business plan with your wholesaling company. I think a lot of people don't do that.
Well, I don't really have one. I just kind of work with like the guy that he knows, and I just pretty much bring him deals. Be like, hey, let's do this type thing.
So
I haven't really started my LLC. I've been doing.
you just don't dispo.
That's what he does.
Yeah, so you just don't dispo. So even at the end of the day, you still have a wholesaling company, you just don't dispo. So you need to have a plan. You're still making a check every time you bring a property, right? So you need to say, look, for every 7 wholesale deals, I'm gonna buy 1, or whatever that thing is. You know, Nas, I think it was like 2 years ago, maybe. I came to Charlotte to shoot a video with you, Nas. I think it was before COVID, right? It was before COVID, and he stunned on me and started showing me his rentals. And at that point, I had like 2. And so I was like, okay, I gotta go home and buy some rentals. And so over the last couple of years, I probably bought like $8 million of rentals, and I didn't buy it. There was a trust that bought them. I didn't buy anything. And so, you know, you got to leverage your income, and so to be able to do, buy what you want. But remember, you got to, if you can. The thing about me is we control about $8 million worth of property or so, but only paid about $4 million for it. And so that's where you got to be at. And so I don't have loans on anything, period. And so you gotta learn how to come in there because you know how to, and that's why I say it's so important. You gotta learn how to identify the deal. And if you can identify a deal, then I'm serious, the money is all over the place. And so use your wholesaling checks, use your W-2 leverage, use your wholesaling checks for down payments, because you're in a perfect position to do that, and then go out there and find these deals. But when you're bringing them to people's bank, you're at 50%. They're gonna give it to you, and just stack it up. And so you need to have a plan. You need to be like, okay, 7 and 1. Every 7 wholesale deal, I buy something. And then, but sometimes you're gonna come across, there's gonna be 2 deals back to back where you're gonna buy them because it's such a sweet deal. So everybody, if you're wholesaling, have a plan where you know where you're putting away properties. Because my first two and a half years, I didn't buy anything. And then this guy stunned it on me, and then I had to go buy some property. Supplies and materials during the time of shortage. You're not gonna find them at your Home Depots and your Lowe's. You'll find some stuff. A lot of it we buy from the bigger supply houses that the contractors use. And it's so crazy how a lot of it just comes down just to networking in general. We're still building stuff during this time of shortage. I hear people like their windows are like 6 months out. We're still getting them in like 8 weeks. So it's just kind of like who you know and where the supply is coming from. But we got, Lowe's is headquartered in North Carolina. I don't know if a lot of people know that. And so there's a lot of suppliers that are close by to Lowe's in order to be, a distributor for them. And so you just got to have relationships with people. And then sometimes there's these secondary places that buy buybacks from Lowe's and Home Depot. I don't know if that makes sense. Y'all have that in Charlotte? Yeah. And so it's not your main hardware stores. It's like the secondary guy with a warehouse with no name on it. And so we buy a lot of products from them directly. And then we also stockpile too. Windows and stuff and wood is a commodity in real life. So we when we see supply, we just buy as much as we can. But relationships, you need to talk to some contractors, because you're not gonna, if you wait on Home Depot and Lowe's, you're never gonna get it done. So how many people, raise your hand if you're doing 5 deals or more a month? Right, all right, so the reality is y'all don't need that, right? And I own 2 of the largest of those companies, right? And so you don't need them, because what happens is you go online and you look at somebody like my business, his business, somebody else online is successful, and you say, I want to do what they're doing. I want to do 10, 12, 20 deals a month. And the reality is 1 deal a month will change your lives. And so all you got to do is get in your car and drive around and see these things. Learn how to identify a deal. And if you can do that, then you don't need all these tools. right? Because when I started just a simple 5-6 years ago, you didn't have all that stuff. And so that it's only a plus, right? It's only a plus. Like, you can get around on a bike. A car is helpful, but you can get there on a bike, right? And so because you don't want to spend all this money on these tools and systems, they're great to know and learn, but you don't need to have all these things to be successful now. I say until you get beyond consistently doing 2 or 3 deals every single month, you don't necessarily need them, unless you're gonna have, somebody that's gonna teach you how to actually use them. Because what's gonna happen is you're gonna go out, you're gonna buy PropStream, you're gonna get REI Rail, and I'm saying this and I own the company. You're gonna go out there and you're gonna go out to get these things. You're gonna learn 20% of its features. You're gonna get frustrated and you're gonna say this shit don't work, and then you're gonna quit. Right? And it's just what most people, I've seen it. I've seen a lot of this stuff happen. We have calls, we have customer success people that I talk to once a week, and it's the same thing. People are like, I'm frustrated, I quit. They stop using it after 1 or 2 months because they get frustrated with it. You gotta take that time to learn that, but before then, the best thing you can do to find a deal today is every free minute you have, drive around in neighborhoods. Literally, get in your car and just, no map, just drive around and drive slow and look at things. And then you'll start to see the neighborhoods. But, oh, this neighborhood's changing. You'll start to see it. You'll start to notice, oh, this neighborhood's high end. Oh, you're driving from the bad neighborhood to the, oh, this is where it switches. This street right here, this is where the neighborhood starts to get good. And you start to understand those lines and you say, well, what if I can get one house on this side? And then you start seeing the colorful doors in the bad neighborhoods. You know what I'm talking about? Y'all know what I'm talking about. The big yellow doors, the blue doors. Like, dang, that was just the hood a week ago. You know it's coming. And so you start to learn these things, and then you start to say, okay, that house got tall bushes. Let me go find this person's number. Let me go knock on that door. That one deal will bring you $10,000, $20,000. How many people make $10,000, $20,000 a month right now? Right? So the idea is you don't need to have 10 deals a month. You know how I started to get 10, 15, 20 deals a month? I started with 1. And I mastered that marketing strategy, right? I started with probate and delinquent taxes. And I mastered it to the point where I read the North Carolina General State Statute, plain text, to understand exactly the way that it had to go. This is the procedure that every single county had to follow. And so that's the boring stuff. But you can do this, you can do that, you can do this, you can do it. Just drive around. And you'll be able to start identifying deals very quick. I mean, in the next 30 days. If you take every free hour you have, in the next 30 days, you will learn. And while you're driving, throw on a podcast. And in the next 30 days, I guarantee you'll find a deal. And then you take that first deal and you reverse engineer it. You say, well, let me break down. Oh, wait, they were delinquent in taxes. Oh, wait, she was also a probate. Okay, let me go learn more about delinquent taxes while you're driving for the next deal. Then let me go learn more about probate, like the back of your hand. And then you start to say, I've identified an actual problem that I can consistently solve over and over and over again. And then when you go from there, next thing you know, you're doing 5 or 6 of these off of one marketing source. Then you go get the tools, the CRMs. Then you start to scale because now you got money to throw behind it.